In times of AI, it's even more important that everybody knows some cybersecurity basics and what personally identifiable information is and how you can protect yours. So let's dive in. Hi, I'm Carolin, Chief Information Security Officer and tech founder. I'm teaching cybersecurity strategy on cyguide.com. And here on my social channels, I bring you the deep dives and help you to protect yourself, your workplace, your loved ones against cybercrime and fraud. Personally identifiable information, PII. Sounds super complex, but it's easy. It's actually all this information that directly describes us as a person or indirectly refers to us, so that when you have enough of this indirect information, you can find us either way. And we share this information every single day when we use the internet and also as part of our business and work processes. And even people who don't use the internet are sharing this information online because they might have a contract with a company who's using an IT ecosystem to work with the customer data. And there you're part of this as well. So you see, it's very hard not to share your sensitive information on the internet. And in this way, we're also all part of any kind of attacks or data breaches in some way, and we can't prevent it. Like when we gave our information to a company, they had a problem with their IT infrastructure and they had a data breach, then our information automatically is part of this data breach, but the negative impact comes back to us personally. Like somebody who shouldn't know that about us might have our name, our address, our birthday, like all the information we used to sign the contract with a company, for example. Or even worse, when it's an insurance or a health provider, there might have even more sensitive information, even more personally identifiable information about us. And this is why I think it's good to know that this personally identifiable information, PII, is something that we should be aware of and that we should protect, because whenever this gets into wrong hands, this is where attackers and fraudsters start their work. Why is it so much easier with AI for attackers and fraudsters to attack not just companies, but also so many individuals at the same time and get their data and money? And that's mainly because attackers use AI for fast data processing and they don't follow regulatory standards like a company would do. So, for example, in the European Union, it's not allowed to set up a profile of a person, like collect all the different data, like how we know it from doxing, from stalking, from when somebody's really interested in you as a person. Like this is not allowed for companies, only with your consent. But this is what attackers would do if they know you are either an interesting target, you have a lot of money, you have access to money, you have access to interesting information, you are a leader of an interesting company. Like when you are at a key point where they know they can get something out of your digital identity, of you as a person, or your connections with other people, your communication and work processes. Like they will not stop where they touch regulations. Like they will go on and they will still use AI and they will use it to accelerate their attack and fraud campaigns. And this combination of, on one side, businesses and defenders following regulatory rules even when using AI, and on the other side, attackers using actually whatever they want to get whatever they want. This is the dangerous situation that we're in at the moment. And don't forget that most companies still don't have anything against it, like also to protect their people, to protect their employees and users and customers. Like if a company has no cybersecurity strategy, then you have some people with a criminal business strategy on one side and some people with absolutely nothing against it on the other side. And this is unfortunately a situation that we see so often. And this is why attackers and fraudsters using AI are so super successful at the moment. And we see this high damage numbers globally in the billions and growing every year. Stolen identities are absolutely not a joke. And I could freak out whenever there's an influencer making jokes about like, ah ha ha ha, somebody set up 10 fake accounts with my name and my profile pictures. Yeah, nobody's doing that for nothing. They are doing that to contact your remaining followers, to ask them to sign up somewhere, to send more information, to send money or pictures so they can blackmail them and then get the money. So this is really a business model of fraudsters. This is nothing to make jokes about. And even when you're not an influencer, when you are a business owner or business leader or just a normal person, like, be aware that whenever somebody's stealing your name, your pictures, trying to fake your identity, you want to do something against it immediately. And you can also report that to the platforms. You can report that to the police. Like, know your rights and know what to do in such a situation, because like, it's a fraud business model behind. It's absolutely not a joke. And the only person who can do something against it easily is the real person who owns the real digital identity. And what you can always do, no matter where you live, you can always refer to the European General Data Protection Regulation that goes for not just European citizens, but people in Europe. And I also use that so often, also with platforms in Australia or wherever, because then they will be really fast in deleting those fake accounts, and it makes it easier to get them out of the way so they can't use your good name to trick other people. And yes, if somebody gets criminal with your stolen identity, guess where the police will come to ask the critical questions. Like, of course, they will come to you because they know where you really live, compared to the fraudsters that might hide somewhere in a country where your local police will not get. So no, it's not a joke. This can become very, very serious, and you want to do something against stolen identities and fake accounts. Just 2 days ago, I heard another story of somebody losing all his retirement savings to a fraudster. And it was a typical situation, like from the cybersecurity expert's perspective. It was a stressful day, and then there was a message coming that looked like it was from the investment platform he was using. And, he was told to transfer money, and he did. So this is exactly what fraudsters love. Like, they want to get in between established, trusted working communication processes or work processes, because you have the trust factor. Best case for them, somebody's stressed or like didn't get the awareness training, and then it's so easy for them to get what they want, and that's mostly data or money. And unfortunately, in this case, it was 100,000 euros. And in the case where some colleagues of me are working with, you have up to 250,000. So it's not little money. It's like, for some people, it's all their savings that they lose in those fraud attempts. For companies, it might be a big portion of their investment budget that they lose to such fraud attempts. So we are talking about millions and billions when we go globally. So be aware that this happens, that attackers, fraudsters love when you don't know what you're dealing with, you're stressed, you're not thinking twice before you send a transfer or click a button, click a link, like whatever interaction they want you to do. Like, be smart, and actually better get a coffee and be lazy, because this might save so much money and prevent damages. One of the more advanced fraud attempts is virtual kidnapping. Like, you know what kidnapping is, but here it's not physical. Is somebody who might call you, pretend they've kidnapped your boss while they are on a business trip, or kidnapped somebody from your family while a kid is studying abroad, or your sister, your brother might be on holidays with their family. And here, attackers also use all this information on the internet and social media, and they make up this story, and they just have to find somebody on the other side who is likely to believe it, and then super stressed and like freaking out about it, and likely to pay to get the person back. So this is how it works, this virtual kidnapping. And be aware that every information that is shared online, or also when you have work processes and maybe travel information, that can be a hotel that has been hacked, can be a travel provider that has been hacked, where attackers find all this information about leaders traveling and their business trips, also family trips. This is dangerous as well. So this is where attackers, where fraudsters get this information to make up a story that somebody might believe that another person has been kidnapped, and they don't bring fake information. They know a bit, 50%, 70% of the story, and they turn it into this kidnapping story to make money out of it. This is how it works, but it all starts with data and very often with oversharing on social media or hacked business partners, hacked companies and their inboxes, their processes. For every individual internet user without a big security team, it's quite complicated to erase information from the internet. But what I recommend for everybody using the internet, even if you're not a business owner or not a public person, manage your reputation. And that might feel strange in the beginning, but Google yourself and ask different AI tools what they know about you regularly, like monthly or quarterly. Set a reminder in your calendar, because even when something has happened, when there was a data breach and people know too much about you online, at least and you can also contact the police in time when this is becoming dangerous. And I also post the link to the website Have I Been Pruned below the video. There you can also check your email address and see if you've already been part of a data breach and like what kind of information is public now. And this is important, like even if we can't go back in time, we can still manage our reputation and be even more aware that like things maybe didn't want to share are still public and can become dangerous. So I can definitely recommend, no matter who you are, when you use the internet, manage your reputation. What would help now against all these cybercrimes and fraud attempts, or at least limit the damages? And for that, you have to keep in mind that when we use the internet, we are globally connected. Like also threats and fraud attempts don't stop at borders. Like this is a global problem we are facing. And here I practice what I preach. Like, I teach cybersecurity strategy on cyguide.com because I still see and believe that when more companies and more institutions have a clear cybersecurity strategy, like not just bits and pieces, but like roles, responsibilities, all the measures organized and regular updates, then this has a direct effect on the people connected to the company, connected to the institution. Like not just on the employees and freelancers, but also on the customers, on the users, on everybody, like being part of the network of this company or institution. And I see this in my trainings, like people are invited to a cybersecurity training and bring their questions from home. Sometimes we discuss online shopping, sometimes we discuss investments, sometimes we discuss smart homes, and they take the answers home as well. Like if something interesting happens in your workday, of course you discuss it with your partner. And if you learn something about cybersecurity, you might also have an eye on how your kids use the internet and ask them and like see it with a bit of different perspective. So whenever you have a company or an institution with a clear working cybersecurity strategy, this has a positive impact on the cybersecurity awareness of the people around, and with that on our global societies. So this is what I see in my work. This is what I always recommend to everybody who's a business leader or makes decisions for institutions. And if you want to work with me, you find my course on cyguide.com. If you don't want to work with me, I still recommend that you find somebody who can help you to level up on your cybersecurity strategy, because in the end, this is something that helps your company or institution, but also helps all the people that are in your work environment, and they will take it home. Please completely forget common sense as argument in cybersecurity and fraud prevention. Because what I can tell you from my projects and from all the people coming to me with their stories and with their questions, there is no common sense, especially not around tech skills or when it's about knowing about the latest cybercrime stories, the IT infrastructure threats, or anything that's going on in the fraud space. Because it really depends on what people learn at home from their parents, in schools, and then later if their employers invest in regular training. And unfortunately, most companies don't invest in regular training, like when it comes to ad hoc training, when it comes to monthly or quarterly training. Like most employees these days, if their employer has a training program, they get like maybe an annual compliance training, maybe an hour about like how they can protect the workplace and follow the policies. And this is not enough to develop any kind of common sense that like we can all have the same level of knowledge to not tap into any cybercrime or fraud attempt. So never ever argue with common sense in cybersecurity. And if you want to test your common sense, then follow this channel, because here you will see more cybersecurity deep dives and stories. And then tell me if you knew about all of them before.